Welcome, Anu. It's so
Hey,
nice to have you on this podcast, and I'm so excited for the topic for today, which I'm sure a lot of people are going to want to know a lot more about because it's all about what is happening with our dating world, this modern dating world, dating apps, and everyone seems frustrated. They're wanting new starts in their relationships, but it just seems like somehow modern dating isn't quite working. But before we dive into the topic, Anu, I'll let you introduce yourself because you have such amazing background. You've done so much, but I'm sure you can summarize it in much better way than I can. So I'm so excited for this podcast and to have you here.
thank you. Hello, everyone. Hi, Evie. So great to be here about a topic which is equally as passionate for me as well, because I am also seeing all the crazy patterns, and a lot of my content is based around dating and relationships at the moment. So my name's Anu, for those of you who don't know me, and I'm the founder of Victim to Victor, and I'm available on all socials. So yeah, do come and connect. And I'm also a podcast host myself of the Victim to Victor podcast, and I'm also now an executive producer. We've got a movie coming out this Wednesday. There's a screening taking place in Crete, which I'm flying out to. So
Wow.
yes. So there is a lot going on in my life, indeed. Oh, and I'm also raising 2 young kids. Ooh,
Wow.
amidst the chaos.
Balancing it all.
Yeah, exactly. I know. Well, that's it. That's what it's about. And again, I feel like because women, okay, I say women. I know there's a lot of solo dads out there as well, but we're having to do a lot. We're having to bring the money in, raise the kids, and run the household, pay the bills, as well as be badasses in our professions. Have our careers and build our businesses on the side. It's a lot.
It's a lot. I totally agree. It's like, I mean, I don't even have kids at the moment, and I find it a lot. And like, I can imagine with, balancing family and with everything else, it really is a lot. And I think it's just not viable in this world to survive without of income. Like, if you don't have them,
True.
it's just not viable. And also, we have this inherent need as people, and I think women, especially nowadays as well, to really do something meaningful in this world and do something that is of service to others. So it's really combining all of those. This perfect formula is what we are striving for, but it's just requires a lot of work at the beginning.
It does, yeah. And I was also reading up on some stats that the younger generation now, they're feeling very insecure because they feel like they're under so much pressure to do more, to post more, to be more, to achieve more. And we just live in this more-ish society, whereas people, they're not actually accepting where they're at. They're not grateful for where they're at because they just feel like they need to be more. And it's quite sad because that's ultimately what's causing a lot of mental health issues, where people, they're not feeling enough. And so I think that's a huge thing to really pay attention to. And just the affirmations of I am enough, really helped me as I was growing older, because you are enough as you are, and you don't need to be more. And there's just so much comparison and competition out there, isn't there?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's such a good point about not feeling enough is actually what is fueling this whole hustle culture, competition, and maybe it's impacting our dating world as well. And maybe that's why we can now segue into that topic, because I think that's quite a good point, because a lot of people don't feel enough, or they feel like they have to just constantly keep going in order to maybe appear as a great partner, someone who has everything, tick boxes and checklists. It's really hard to I suppose we can say our expectations are rising so much higher as we progress and evolve that it's really hard to feel like we can meet a partner who matches that sometimes as well. I think before we dive into it, let's talk about dating apps, because I've had so many, like, whenever I've seen my friends, they've all talked about dating apps as well. You know, the single friends who said, "Gosh, I've like seen many people. I have like gone on dates, but actually like not feeling that positive. Like, also there wasn't a spark. There was something that just didn't match up." But it almost seems like dating apps, whilst they have worked for some people, they've actually made dating, like, in some ways worse for some, because they just are constantly scrolling, don't know another way of finding someone. So in your opinion, what do you think is going on here that have dating apps really become worse than they were, or is there something else going on?
Well, I've got a love-hate relationship with dating apps, and that's because it does increase your access to more people, which you wouldn't necessarily meet when you're just popping into Costa Coffee to get a coffee. Dating apps have expanded your reach, and so I think that's fantastic, because it means we don't have to just settle for the next man that we meet. We can actually go online and actually search for qualities that we're after in a man or a woman. And so I think in that sense it's great, but unfortunately there's also a dark side to it, where the fact that it's increased options so much that people just aren't settling for anything less. Standards have gone up and expectations have gone up, and so that means if we're chatting to someone and then suddenly there's something that we don't like about them, we'll probably just end up either ghosting them or just letting them down, because we know that once we go and swipe right, or that is right, isn't it? Yeah, left is where you say no and right is where you say yes.
Yeah.
That's all, yeah. I had to get that right. So we can just go online and find somebody who may be better, and then that's just a constant cycle that we're in. So swipe fatigue is real. Again, there's studies on this which show that too many options can actually increase dissatisfaction. And so people swipe endlessly, but they rarely feel satisfied with the matches that they get, and that's an issue.
100%. Yeah, I think I noticed that when I speak to some of my single friends, and even for myself, when I have been on the dating apps, I felt like okay, well, it didn't work out. Okay, fine, like, okay, I can just like look for someone else. It's almost like this, you're already, at least I found this for myself, that if you go in with like low stakes, like almost like, okay, well, if it doesn't work out, there's plenty, on the dating app, like plenty more people. So you kind of it's almost like the opposite, where people sometimes have scarcity mindset, where they think they're not going to find someone better, but then and now it's like, okay, well, let's just see how it goes. This like kind of going into dating scenarios kind of almost without an intention, really. You're like, let's just see how it goes, and this and that. And sometimes I feel like that doesn't work, because you are going with the mentality that, okay, well, if it doesn't work, there's plenty more on the apps. If not that app, I can try the other app. And it's almost caused this like, you're right, like this swipe fatigue, where people think that swiping means that we have more options, but actually it is being probably much more intentional with what you are wanting.
Exactly.
And yeah, I think that's definitely caused a swipe fatigue for sure.
Definitely, yeah. And also like I'm really big on obviously hormones, and so we do get a huge dopamine fix from apps and just from social media in general. And especially when somebody maybe takes a shining to us, then that's going to make us feel good. Just like short term. This is it's not long term success. This is just for like a short term quick dopamine hit. Wow, yeah, she's fit, she likes me. And so, but then that doesn't mean that you're going to actually connect with somebody. And so, oh my god, I did a post on this yesterday about how sexual chemistry and emotional connection are two important categories of any long term success. But you have to be mindful that you're not only just, sexually attracted to somebody, and that there is going to be a long-term connection with somebody. And so that only comes from getting to know someone. But
Yeah.
unfortunately, many of us, we're not doing that. We're literally
Yeah.
unmatching, or we're ghosting people before we even get to know them properly. And then that's causing a lot of distress, because the receiving end of that, the person who may have got ghosted or, turned
Yeah.
down, then they're going to feel really bad about themselves and insecure. And then that can obviously make people feel really crappy about dating apps as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I hear so much about ghosting. Let's talk about the ghosting thing, because I think everyone has been ghosted at least once in their lives. And why is this happening so much more? It's almost like people are not even seeing humans on the other side. They're just seeing like, okay, well, well, don't know what people are thinking. Like maybe it's not working out, or they don't want to like confront their feelings, or like want to fully reject them, so they just leave, I suppose. But why is it happening so much?
Wow. Well, I just feel like with ghosting, apps are making it easier, because look, we don't know these people, and so it's easier to ghost them because we're not emotionally invested in them. And
Yeah.
so they're strangers. And so, we'll just end up maybe blocking them or just never contacting them again. Whereas if there was anyone in our social circle, somebody who we knew personally, then we wouldn't be able to ghost them because there's a chance that you'll eventually see them again. So yeah, so with apps, I feel like, you have to be aware that ghosting is kind of part of that. And,
Yeah.
obviously I don't agree with it, because for me, it just shows, the level of disrespect that people have for others. And it
Yeah.
it's quite, it's low accountability.
Yeah.
You're not really being accountable for your actions. And so for
Yeah.
me, great respect comes when you can actually be honest with people and just say, look, I don't think you're a match. Please don't take this negatively, and no hard feelings, but
Yeah.
I wish you all the best. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a perfect response. And I think doing that can offer so much like closure to people. And I think I saw one of your posts the other day, which was brilliant. It was all about the grief of almost relationship. That I think we don't realize sometimes people are way more attached, even in the talking stages. For them to feel ghosted, it like lingers on, like, for them to feel like, okay, maybe the person's not responding, but they're still hung up on it. And it's like not a closed situation, even if it's in early stages. And of course people with like past trauma, that it plays a bigger part in it. So you're right, having that respect just for making sure that the other person just has that closure at least, and what they do after that is their choice, is such a great sign of like a modern dating etiquette.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Emotional maturity, and just
Yeah.
having respect for people, because, at the end of the day, we've got to put ourselves in the other person's shoes. Would we like to be ghosted? And maybe you have been ghosted, and so you're on a revenge trail, wanting to ghost as many people as possible because somebody made you
Yeah.
feel bad. But then, is that really the right strategy? For me, I'd always recommend people to go and get therapy. If you're dating and this is new for you, or you're finding it a struggle, then go and see a coach or a therapist to work through, whatever issues you may be having, because
Yeah.
dating should be fun. We should be enjoying going out on dates and getting to know different people.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. But
It should
people,
really be fun.
they're not finding it fun, are they? They're finding it really stressful, it seems.
Yeah, I think the stressful part of it is coming from like, oh well, I'm just gonna get rejected, or maybe feeling like, what if like this kind of scenario of like, oh, I put all this effort in, what if it doesn't work out, kind of thing. But rather than, kind of going into it thinking, oh, this is meant to be fun, like you're meant to be enjoying yourself, getting to know other people without actually having certain big expectations at the beginning, at least.
That's what, yeah, exactly. Oh my God. And someone asked me yesterday, they were like, why don't relationships last anymore? And do you know what? The
Yeah.
first thing that came in my head was that it's the fact that we
Mm,
create this fantasy about somebody in our head. And
mm,
so we meet someone and suddenly there's all these sparks, and we've got a dopamine and endorphin hits
yeah.
because it's just amazing seeing this person and they give us butterflies. But then what happens is we're then creating this fantasy about, how the relationship will go, and we're already setting the future. And
Mm,
then what happens is give it a year or two down the line, the chemistry fades away anyway within the first year. That's biological
yeah.
anyway. And
Mm,
then what happens is this person doesn't really match who we wanted them to be. And then a lot of the resentment kicks in, disappointment, and then suddenly, you're not really on the same page together. And then
yeah.
it's not going to last. You have to be on a journey together. And your values and your beliefs, they're all so important. And
Yeah.
so I do feel like when you meet someone, you have a little like questionnaire, not even
Yeah.
printed out, but just one in your head where you want to get to know this person, make sure that you align together and that you connect on various different levels. Because if you're
Mm,
totally different, they say opposites attract. They might do, but then you need to share something.
yeah.
So yeah, so that's really important. And yeah, you mentioned about, the grief of almost love. Yeah,
Mm,
that's a huge one, that. And we don't like actually look into that enough, I feel. Because
yeah.
this is just like a new thing that I even figured out from my own experiences. I was like, whoa, I'm
Mm,
actually grieving. This feels like a death.
yeah.
Obviously, the person's still alive, but how I'm grieving, I'm so sad. And so again, what are we grieving? We're grieving what could have been, and if
Yeah.
if there was no formal relationship, then we're grieving that loss. Mhm.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think you're right. It's not talked about enough because we don't consider that as proper grief because it's not necessarily, physical loss of someone. And
Mhm.
but if you've made a scenario in your head where they fully feel real and suddenly that is either taken away by whether that person ghosts you, rejects you, or you just find out they're not interested and stuff, it really shatters the vision that felt so vivid for certain people. And yeah, you're right, it can feel like, and I've had that in the past too, where you feel like it's much more than perhaps what it was, and then you just get a reality check, but you're left with this grief and almost shame where you can't really tell other people, because
Mm,
it almost to
so
them
true.
just feels like they often would say like, well, did you see the red flags? Did you see like the person, were they actually putting the effort in? And then you start
Mm,
having this realization maybe they weren't, but at the same time you're left with this like shame and kind of like guilt for thinking about them and like spending time on
yeah.
that situation. And then you also have to grieve the loss of the person because they never existed. So it's really a big phenomenon. You're right.
That
Yeah.
is huge, yeah, definitely. You did also mention about the fact that we're entering into like the dating scene already, kind of with the head that we're going to be rejected. And so
Yeah.
again, when you're doing that, that's not the way that you should be dating. You should be dating ultimately trying to manifest success, trying to
Yeah.
manifest abundance. So if you're in a scarcity mindset, though, I'll probably advise you to get off the apps. Stop dating
Yeah.
for a while and focus on you, because if you're running off empty, then you need to fill your cup. You need to do self-care. Go and take care of yourself. Go and lift yourself up and do things
Mm.
that fill you with joy and that fill you with happiness, because there's no point in dating if you're trying to find a partner to fill in like the missing jigsaw piece in you. Okay, that's not going to work. So you
Yeah.
need to be full as a whole human being yourself, and then you need to go out there to find a partner who's going to match you, to lift you up, to add value to you, and to be your equal or even more. You're not after somebody to fill a void. So
Yeah.
I feel like, yeah,
Very good
please
point.
do. Yeah, please do pay attention to that.
Really good
Mm,
point. Yeah, absolutely. I think making sure that we are in a good place is the start of it. And I think it's kind of like also what you said about success mindset, where if you go into a job interview, you don't go like, well, I'm not going to get it anyway, so let's just let's just go. Well, then you're almost not going to show up as someone who is really wanting that role. The other person is not going to notice your enthusiasm or like what you actually are wanting, and your energy is going to be off. So that will show up in a similar way in dating situations, where the other person may just feel off simply because you've given up before you've actually put yourself out there. So yeah, that's a very good point.
So true. Wow.
Let's
love that.
talk about situationships. A lot of people talk about situationships, like they want a relationship but they somehow end up in situationships, or what exactly is a situationship, and why is there a rise of these situationships, or these like ambiguous situations where people are not sure whether they can even call the person like they're dating or their friend, or what is going on?
Yeah, absolutely. So wow, situationships are commitment avoidance. End of. So it's basically what that reflects is like a craving for love and intimacy and connection, but without the responsibility. So you don't want to be giving them much. And by giving them much, what I mean by that is actually being vulnerable with someone, like putting your guards down, letting someone in, like to really enable them to trust you and you trust them. Because when you're vulnerable, that's when real intimacy happens. That's when real closeness happens. But you can't be vulnerable if you do have any trauma, like unresolved trauma, or if you've been hurt before and now you've got your guards up, and you may be suffering from fear of abandonment, fear of failure, or fear of just neglect. So I would say if anybody that you're meeting is not ready to date you and you are ready to date properly, then maybe best to not continue that kind of situationship with them, because at the end of the day, you have to start as you mean to go on. And it's the same for if you meet somebody and they don't want kids and you do, and then you say, oh, it's okay, let's carry on dating, I'm sure you change your mind. No, it's best to move on, go and find somebody else, because we can't enter into any relationship or situationship or dating experience already wanting to change that person, because what you meet is what you're getting. And so even if they may change temporarily their mind about something, it might not be what they really want, and they might just be trying to people please you to try and get have you for like temporarily means, or trying to get you to sleep with them. So I would say try and find out early on what it is that they're after, so that you're not clashing with anyone.
Yeah Big point, I think, about the sort of situationships exist because we give in to what the other person is wanting more than what we are wanting.
Exactly.
Kind of going along with it. So it is partly a form of people pleasing as well, where we perhaps are ready, but then we feel like if I say that I'm ready, I want this, full committed relationship, the ring and everything. If I say all those things, the other person is going to freak out and walk away. And so we don't share what we truly want with the other person, because we're like, well, if it's going to freak them out, when in reality the right person won't be freaked out. They'll match you exactly where you are.
Exactly.
And they'll want similar things as well. And I think that's one of the reasons I think situationships does come into play, where people I think everyone just really wants love, and they feel like showing up as themselves fully is not going to get them that.
True.
But yeah, you're right. It is a really growing thing at the moment, like with situationships, rather than people owning up to the fact like what they are wanting, really wanting. Let's go on about how does this differ for men and women? You know, I think there's a bigger divide between men and women than ever before. You know, from what I hear, you know, men kind of saying like, well, women don't want to. Women saying that men don't want to commit. You know, I go on these dates and they're just not wanting to date me, and then men saying, well, you know, women are all wanting like 6'5" men with like this great job and everything all figured out. So there's almost like it seems like there's a separation between what
because
men think they want.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm just laughing because I had this with a man who was feeling this way. And so okay, so I think
no way.
Yeah, so what's happening is men are suffering from rejection fatigue, and that's because you're right, you know, women are looking for certain unrealistic standards in everyone. A man who's tall, who's dark haired, good looking, who's like CEO or, you know, a director at his company, and who works out, you know, when he has a very fit lifestyle. And so men feel judged a lot. And this is why the amount of left swipes that men get on the apps, you know, it's phenomenal. Whereas women don't, you know, women, like, they just have to put a filter on and suddenly they look like, you know, the Kardashians. So
yeah.
And so women so women have it you know, better in the fact that they will get more right swipes from men because of how they look. So they don't need to have flashy careers, flashy cars, you know, they don't need to be working out, you know, as long as they look good, then, you know, they will get a right swipe. But I think what happens then moving on when they do get that right swipe, and then they're suddenly out dating with, you know, these decent looking men, then these decent looking men probably won't feel like that they need to make much of an effort because they're good looking. So what they'll do is they'll half effort date these women, and, you know, they won't be clear in what they want. They'll give mixed signals, and because they might have a few options that they're dating a few of the women, and so you know, they won't be getting back to women on time, and then that creates a lot of insecurity with a lot of these, you know, high value women. And then what's happening is, you know, things just, they won't work out because, you know, if you're feeling anxious and insecure so earlier on in any relationship or, you know, any dating experience, then you know, you're not setting yourself up for success. So so there's huge things going on there.
Absolutely.
There's frustrations on both ends that I'm seeing.
It's true. Exactly what you described, like that was perfectly described about, I think, men initially, like a lot of men are used to rejection as well. I think they are, you know, when they're on the dating apps, they are kind of, you know, if there's someone who swipes, and we're not talking about like, you know, someone who fits into the criteria of like being a director of a company, 6'5", abs, everything, you know, like physical appearance, like not talking about that necessarily, but someone, you know, who is just a decent guy, you know, who has a great life, good friendships, and I think that when you have that coming on dating apps, for some women it may be almost like, you know, it almost gets overlooked because you have this like almost like a shiny object syndrome, you know, like it's what we have on social media, you know, when we see like really nice photos of someone and it doesn't say much, but then they get a lot of likes, you know, and then we have a value packed content from someone, it doesn't get as many likes simply because there's just like visually like something else just looks better, or it like catches your attention more. And I think maybe that can also impact when we are swiping, or we are looking for certain things. Our mind is like filtering basically based on that criteria that we've set out. But then you actually think, someone who has those kind of like what we say average things, but they're really not average, because in day to day those are the stability bases for a relationship. Those get overlooked, so sometimes we miss those in the swipes as well. And I think that makes this like men and women's perspective kind of difficult to match up, because the divide more so simply because of the way the dating apps are designed and the way the system is designed, and now being on social media a lot more, it makes it difficult, I think, the whole system. But measuring up to those unrealistic checklists is hard for both ends in a way. I think it's not really serving anyone else either. Going back to just the unrealistic standards, the social media comparisons, dating for status symbol, a lot of people, I noticed this when they've done a lot of healing. Some people say, well, I've done so much healing, I've done all these like self-improvement, self-development work, why is it still that, we are wanting someone who still fits the criteria, despite doing that work? Perhaps you could talk a little bit more about that. Is it to do with the social media or the unrealistic standards, or is it just that we have some attachment issues going on there?
Definitely both, because there could be also, like you said, the attachment issues and commitment phobia as well. Because you're right, with social media, we are full of all these highlight reels, all these amazing lifestyles, all these filters that make you look like supermodels, and then when we're endlessly scrolling, that is a huge time investment as well. And so I do find like there's a lot of single people now than there probably was before, because a lot of their time is being taken like just endlessly scrolling and just fulfilling their dopamine hits through like reels that keep coming up. And then also there's a lot of comparison, like that someone they might be lying with their partner, and then suddenly this hunk comes up on social media and you're just like, oh, why can't my partner be like them? And then suddenly you resent your partner because he's the opposite of a hunk, and then and then that could lead to a lot of breakups as well. So social media is huge, and just our visibility, how much we're seeing online and how much we're seeing just come up of all these random people who we would, they're not even celebrities, these are just everyday people that are coming up on our feeds, and we're just comparing consistently. And so just being vulnerable with people, that becomes really risky then as well, because it just doesn't measure up to all these like polished profiles that we have. And so I feel like more people have their guards up more so than ever as well. And when you have your guard up, what is that? It's the ego, isn't it? The ego is coming up. And so a lot of people say the ego means edging God out. And so what we need to do is to
I've never heard that. That's so great.
Edging God out. It's interesting, isn't it? So what we need to do is to try and we don't want that ego, because that doesn't create happiness. That just creates defense mechanisms, and it creates a fake profile of you, because when you have your ego operating dominantly in your life, then it means you're not able to fully be yourself, and then you end up being somebody that you're not. And a lot of people might not like this egotistical version of you, because they might think that you're full of yourself, or that you just think you're better than everyone, because that's what the ego does. It makes you feel like you're better than everyone. But then that's what's happening. It's a massive knock-on effect. And so because of that, you can't be vulnerable, and then you can't trust people, and then suddenly relationships are dying down. You're not fully connecting with people, and then you're alone because you feel like you know, nobody likes you, but it's not that. It's because, you know, you're not your real self, and so nobody probably wants to hang out with you because they think you're full of yourself. And then you're isolated, you're depressed, and then suddenly mental health issues arise, and there's so many suicidal rates at the moment, and you just think, well, yeah, you know, there's a knock-on effect of what's going on in the world. You know, let's be aware of this. Let's understand what's going on so that we can actually you know, like fight it, because acceptance is key. You know, the more that we brush things under the carpet, then the more worse it's going to get. So we need to stand up to this and understand what's going on, and, you know, so that we can change.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, it's it is a knock-on effect. It is a systemic issue, actually, rather than even just a dating issue or a dating app issue. And it has to do with our egos, how our egos are showing up online. And it's really hard when you're comparing to people who are not necessarily, you're right, even celebrities. It's just average day life. And then you're thinking, well, listen, an average person can have such a great life, you know, from what they see on social media, and not actually have a great life. We don't know behind the scenes, but if they can have it, why am I not there? And then that makes you kind of get into that rat race again. And it just goes back to that whole circle, you know, from before, which you were trying to leave anyways. And it's I think it's a vicious cycle, and perhaps even a deeper topic to talk about at some point. Let's bring it back to just like safety and boundaries with dating. I think I've heard some women talk about this, and I used to be a self-defense coach as well, and for women, and some of the women that were coming there were actually coming to, basically, they've had bad dates. You know, they've had maybe someone harass them, or like someone who's been like consistently like without permission, like contacting them again and again, and like, you know, and that really creates another issue, which is kind of like a bit of a smaller topic, but I think is relevant to talk about why that can shape someone's life in such a negative perspective of dating life, which is that if someone's just like harassing you, like really, you know.
Goodness, oh my God, that would be horrible. That would, wow. So I think, definitely, you know, catfishing is huge. I hear that all the time, especially from men. Be like, she was nothing like her pictures. Damn, you know, what a waste of a date, what a waste of time. You know, I just think, come on, you know, let's be real. You know, even if you want to stick up pictures of, you know, yourself with filters on, just try and have one or two like real pictures up as well, just so that people know. You know? So like, I feel like you know, and this is, I mean, you know, this is probably speaking more to you know, to like pro men here, because obviously when men have filters up, I feel like we just swipe left because it puts women off immediately, doesn't it? But harassment is a no-go. Wow, you know, I mean, instant block there. Oh God, instant block and report, you know, if this person's from an app. And also like just the emotional toll that a lot of this can have on us as well. You know, I would say definitely seek professional help if you are feeling down about any of this. And so, you know, once you do seek help, then the first thing that probably any therapist will speak to you about is having boundaries in place, because, you know, we need that. We need to understand what we will not tolerate when we're dating, you know, because boundaries, they ultimately protect our energy, and they also filter out wrong matches fast. Like I just feel like you know, I became so like immune to you know, like the red flags. And so like love bombing, that's a huge issue as well, because, you know, when somebody starts to love bomb and they say that they want to move in with you within the first 2 weeks of meeting, and that, you know, they've never met anyone like you, and that you're the best thing since sliced bread, and that they're madly in love with you, then maybe take a step back and see what's going on there.
Yeah,
Because that's not normal.
absolutely. Yeah.
And I know that, when you're younger, you might be a bit insecure, and suddenly that might feel like, wow, somebody wants me so bad. And then it's easy to fall for it as a young girl. We've
Yeah.
all, I don't know about you, but I know I've been there a few times.
Yeah. Absolutely. Same.
But yeah, so, and again, it's that awareness, just knowing that, that's not normal, and just
Yeah.
to maybe question about what's going on with this person who may be showing you all this love and affection so soon.
Yeah.
Where does that stem from? Is that like a toxic avenue that you may go down, or maybe this person just be highly insecure themselves and that they just want to be loved. So yeah, just definitely and again, a lot of this, you can discuss if you do see a therapist. You can discuss what's going on there, and just discuss ways to action a lot of different behaviors, because you're not going to know on your own. And especially when we're in it, I just find when we're personally invested in something, then it's hard to see the signs. And so it always does help to talk to other people about it and just question, is that normal? So
Yeah. Boundaries is a big thing. It's what I do in my coaching as well. Teaching how to set boundaries, really looking at what our non-negotiables are, and leading our life through those non-negotiables, and especially dating situations can protect you so much. So anyone listening, exactly, you're right, Anu, like, to do seek help, because those are really stepping into safety issues, and we never want to do that. So do seek professional help in those cases. Okay, so I'm going to talk about some cliches that people hear all the time now, and what I would love to hear what your opinion is on them, or whether they are actually even relevant anymore, because we are evolving. We are evolving at a much greater rate, and people are aware of the red flags and all the things in relationships a lot more now because of social media awareness, and a lot more people speaking out about it. So the first cliche is, if he wanted to, he would. Is that an empowering truth, or maybe a toxic oversimplification? What's your take on that?
totally oversimplified. Because sometimes people want to, but timing might not be right. They might not be emotionally available, and they might have to work through some issues before they are ready, and they might even have a lot of fear which may be holding them back. So it's empowering, and it's also reductive. So I just feel like oversimplified, definitely.
I totally agree with you. I think it's maybe when you face certain rejections when you're younger, and you want to kind of feel better about, like, okay, how do I move on from this situation? This sentence may work, if he wanted to, he would. But you're right, it's much more nuanced than that. It's much more about timing, emotional availability, readiness of the person, things that we don't have in our own control. Cliche number 2: dating is just a numbers game. What do you think about that one?
Oh geez, oh my God, yeah. And that's probably part of the issues that we're all having. It's just a number, there's loads more, plenty of fish in the sea. But yeah, exposure matters, but more dates don't always equal better outcomes. I don't know if anyone's ever experienced a burnout from dating, but burnout is real, because don't forget, when we're meeting people or exchanging energy with people, it's a lot of that energy we're taking on. And so it's like when people go to weddings and parties when there's loads of people, you're absorbing loads of energy, and it can get you quite exhausted, especially if you're a natural empath and you absorb energy really easily. And so when you're doing that, you need to reset, you need to chill out and just be on your own, so that you can actually regain your energy, and just ground yourself and become stable again. So I always say, you know, quality over quantity anytime, you know, and intentional quality beats quantity. So be intentional in who you're matching with.
Yeah, great message there. Be intention more than the numbers.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
lovely.
The last cliche, he'll arrive when you're not looking. I hear this so much. So do you think this is like I guess fate, or is it like just kind of more about intentionality again?
Well, fate feels really comforting, doesn't it? When you think about, oh, okay, that means I can carry on with my everyday life and he'll come along, my Prince Charming. But come on, in reality, everything takes work. And, you know, most relationships form when people put themselves out there. You know, that's it. You know, you can't just be lying there thinking that someone's going to come to you and then that's it. You're going to have the best relationship of your life. No, you know, two partners have to come into a relationship and do the work together. So I guess it's a mix of like openness and effort. That all matters more than passively waiting for someone.
Yes. Passively waiting. That's a key. Yeah, that's a key word. You're right. I think often when you hear that cliche as well, like, you know, when they say, oh, they'll arrive when you're not looking for it, you know, it often comes from someone who perhaps tried many times before, then they shifted their focus on like other things and they wanted that thing, but also, you know, they kind of like let that resistance go, as we say in the manifestation world, you know, and having that resistance kind of delays it. It was when they let that resistance go that it was able to come into their lives. But it's not necessarily about not looking for it. It's more about you're letting go of the resistance that is holding anyone even coming into your vicinity. But I'm with you there. I think it's such an oversimplification of the statement that they will come that you when you're not looking. It's actually not a very productive statement either, because you know you kind of start shaping your life around it, leaving everything to fate, when you only want to leave things to fate when you are almost at a point where you've tried everything else and now you're like, okay, well, certain things aren't working, let me get the guidance from the universe, and you know, let's see, and then you take the intentional action. I think it's I think that pretty much sums up our cliches, which are so oversimplified. So if anyone is watching, let go of the Instagram advice and like one-line cliches and seek an actual therapist or a coach who will actually help you in progressing forward with your dating goals. Okay, just to finish it off, let's bring some hope and some words of empowerment for like the single people out there who are feeling like, okay, you know, I want to start feeling positive about this dating world. I know it's been exhausting. I've been burnt out, didn't work out, things haven't been the way they've gone. But now, how do I carry on from this point forward, still having hope that the right match, the right person is still out there for me? What would you recommend to the people out there?
Well, I just feel that the word dating, there's a lot of pressure when it comes to the word dating. And so we just put a lot of, there's too much energy into that word. So how about just letting go of that and just maybe instead of dating, maybe just be curious. Okay, just maybe call it curiosity and exploration rather than dating, because ultimately, you know, when we're dating, we're treating it like a job interview. So what we want is to obviously find somebody who we can settle down with, and so, you know, we're treating it like it's a pathway to marriage. That's a lot. Come on, that's a lot of pressure to deal with. So how about let's just treat dating as just, you know, going out, meeting new people, networking, maybe even matching as friends. Facebook now has one of those categories where people can match as friends, and I think that's fantastic.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so it might be full of, casual daters who just want to go and get laid, but at the end of the day, it takes the pressure off actually serious dating. And so, how about just matching as friends? Seeing how it goes, just exploring options, and just not being so serious about it. So, I would say that maybe just changing your mindset around that could really help you. And if you're feeling quite rejected, or you've got fear of rejection, then how about just, again, like I said, take a break from dating and just go and explore your hobbies and your friendships, go on holidays and travel, and just even try and personally grow, because the reason why you're fearing that is because you're not feeling confident. And so what you want to do is work on loving yourself more, because ultimately when you're confident, then you can actually explore dating, or you can actually explore matchmaking as friends, just as more lighter and less crushing experience.
Absolutely. It's going into it in a light-hearted way is in fact the only thing you can do, almost like seeing it as, well, let's have fun, let's see where this takes us, or what are what, almost like thinking of it as what can I really learn, or really like what aspect of myself can I explore. I think that's probably the right wording, that going into it, let's see what this person brings out in me, what
like that. What's in it for me? That's a great approach. That is,
and rather than saying like, okay, let's see if this is the person for the marriage material, or the right person for me, that pressure is way too much. But seeing, okay, let's see, in this person's company, how do I feel, what does it evoke in me? If it evokes something good, and if it feels something good, then you can think, oh, well, I want to explore more of it. Let's see what more it evokes, And I think that probably is quite a natural way to progress thing. And I think that's probably one of the reasons, going back full circle, that dating apps are probably not working as well, as because of that. It's not a natural progress, because you're kind of like chatting on a dating app with multiple people, and then you're kind of you get kind of confused. You meet the person, and then if you're meeting other people too, it's almost like there's no like way to see how are you feeling in those moments, what is it evoking within you. It's all becomes like a checklist, and things like, okay, well, they are pretty good in those aspects, let's see. And
absolutely.
Maybe that's a new way to approach things.
And I get it. A lot of women in their late 20s, 30s, they might be thinking, oh, my I've got a body clock ticking, and so I know that puts a lot of pressure on women to then be trying to find someone, and it creates a lot of anxiety, because you're like, oh my God, my ex. And it's probably easy for me to say, because I've already had my kids, so I'm on the other end of that, where I can actually be more casual, relaxed and casual about it. So I get it, but I think, again, just to give everyone hope, there's women in their late 40s, 50s having babies now. So I just find, like, the world's evolving. Women are having babies late anyway. So really, you do have a lot of time. If you're in your late 20s and 30s, you do have time. And there's lots of options out there. Just don't be rushed into meeting somebody, because you will end up meeting like somebody who isn't good for you. You'll end up maybe attracting toxic partners into your life because of that desperation. And so, is that really the route that you want to go down?
And I think in the world today, where a lot of people are moving towards spirituality and healing their karmas, and a lot more people are believing into that thing is going to take time. That's a lifelong cycle, and sometimes those include relationship cycles, because you're healing like past traumas that are sometimes childhood ones. And it's good to be gentle with yourself, that maybe your journey just looks a little bit different to someone perhaps who got married in their 20s and has kids. Your journey is just more about a healing journey, rather than and perhaps even a deeper and, a fulfilling in a different way kind of journey. But there are options, like you said, Anu, out there for everyone if they want to explore, having babies a lot later in their lives. So yeah, there's always hope for that.
There is definitely, yeah. And
Yeah.
let's think, just offline opportunities are more organic and less draining as well. So, there's a lot of networking events that people can join where they can meet new people, and even online platforms like Facebook groups. Just get networking, get chatting to people, because like even if it's women that you're meeting, they might know somebody who may be a great match for you. So just get yourselves out there.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, well, this was amazing. I really loved chatting to you about everything and just hearing your perspectives. I think it's such a great topic. And yeah, thank you so much, Anu, for being
Thank
here.
you. Loved it. Yeah, I love talking about this. And yeah, like let's connect everyone, and let's make changes to the way that the modern dating's going.
Absolutely, yeah. And if anyone wants to reach out to Anu, go follow her on her Instagram as well, on Victim to Victor. Is that
Yes,
that's
number
the
two.
yeah. Number 2, yeah, Victim to Victor. And I'll be posting this podcast on there as well. So you can always find it through my page as well. So but thank you so much. And I'll
Thank
see
you.
you in the next one.
And if you like this episode, make sure to give it a like and subscribe, and do send it off and share it with other people who may benefit from all this work, because I love doing it. I love sharing just tips to make your life the best life that you can live, and make it better in any way possible, and especially in terms of healing. So yeah, if you enjoyed it, make sure to give it a like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.